All right, what's going on, guys? Coach Bronson here. We're going to talk about calories for a second and do calories count? But I'm not going to talk about all calories in general. We're going to focus specifically on protein calories, okay? Do the calories from protein matter? Do they even count? Like, what happens to protein when we put it into our body? Number one, okay? We know that the thermogenic effect, the thermic effect of food for protein is 35%. So what that means is basically for every 100 calories of protein that you eat, 35 of those calories are going towards processing the protein, okay? That's not specifically I eat 100, the 35 are gone, but it's the equivalent amount of energy that our body has to use in order to process the protein. So you're a net minus 35 right off the bat, okay? You're only getting about 65 of those calories actually for your body to use, essentially. Does that make sense? So out of 100, we know that we're a net energy deficit of 35 off of that 100, okay? That's one thing to consider. Minus 35 gone, okay? The second thing to think about, protein's primary use in the body is not for fuel. Protein is not used to create ATP unless it's absolutely necessary because the demand is too high for it to sustain through fat and carbs, or there's not enough fat and carbs, okay, to be used. So if we just say in general, let's just say 100% of the protein that we eat isn't used for fuel, that makes this conversation really easy. But let's assume that some percentage of protein in whatever circumstances is going to be used for fuel, not just for muscular development, not just for cellular repair, not just for metabolic function, okay? But actual fuel, burning for fuel. Remember, there's a difference between burning and processing, okay? Protein is processed, fat and carbs are burnt, all right? So let's just assume that it's not 100% of all the protein that we eat that is used for muscle repair, right? And metabolic function. Let's say it's 65%. Let's say that our body only uses 65% of the protein that we eat to actually work on muscle protein synthesis, cellular repair, and metabolic function, okay? That leaves 35% to potentially be used for fuel, if it's even that high. I think it's probably lower. I think it's probably more in the 5 to 10 range, if at all, okay? I'd love for anybody to chip in, and if we have any more information about that, that'd be great. But from what I've read, people I've talked to, the information that I've looked at, it's not, I don't think it's anywhere close to 35% of protein is being used for fuel. But let's say that it is. If that's the case, if 35% of the protein that we eat is used for fuel, and the equivalent amount of energy needed in order to process protein is 35%, we are at a net zero fuel utilization for protein, which means protein calories don't count. Think about that, guys. Seriously, think about that. Do the calories from protein matter? Somebody asked me recently, how do I keep from overeating on calories? When you look at my chronometer for a day and I've got 4,000 calories, okay? 4,000 calories with 300, 250, 275 grams of protein in there. Most of those calories don't matter because protein is not used for fuel. The amount of energy it takes to process protein is higher than what your body potentially could even use protein for fuel in the first place. So the way that I look at it is you might actually be in a negative energy deficit just off the protein, right? Something to think about. Play around with that concept, see what it means for you, and see if you can use it to help increase your lean mass, increase your metabolic function, and maybe increase your fat burn too.